welcome to the show. This is How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. I'm your consumer advocate, Gary Nolan. Here to help you take charge of your money is Ben Fuchs. Ben is a certified financial planner, certified private wealth advisor, professional, and fiduciary with over 20 years experience in the business. Ben, how you doing today?
Doing okay, Gary. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. We got a great show today, but I say that every week, don't I?
It's always a great show. I don't think we've ever had a bad show, to be fair.
We haven't. And this one won't be the first bad show, I can tell you right now. All right, so let's go. Here we go. So here's a hot question. Is there such a thing as a perfect partner? Well, Ben and I both have a perfect partner, so let's throw that out there right away.
Right.
Am I
Let's
right,
let's
Ben?
make sure that we don't have to sleep outside of the house tonight. Thank you, Gary.
Exactly, yeah, or in the doghouse, yeah, whatever. All right, so maybe you're married to one. Imagine that. Well, nobody's perfect. We can agree on some things that some green flag suggests that is a great catch, that someone is a great catch. So we actually sat down and cooked up financial Mr. or Mrs. Right and what green flags traits they have that make them the ideal mate. Let's dive into these marvelous characteristics. Get ready to swoon.
Gary, I feel like I don't know how we're going to do this without both of us getting in trouble somehow, some way. We are going to hit some mental tripwire and we're going to be in trouble.
Yes, we are, guaranteed. So we'll see what happens after the show. Yeah, we'll find out
Okay.
after the show. All right, so here we go. Future oriented. Let's talk about that a little bit, Ben.
Yeah, that's a green flag. So they think ahead and they make plans for the future, demonstrating foresight and ambition. For retirement planning parallels, you want to set clear retirement goals. I mean, nothing is more important in the planning process than setting those clear goals and understanding what needs to be done to get them. As a strategy insight, you can define what you want your retirement to look like, and it helps in creating a targeted plan to achieve those goals. As an action item, you want to outline specific retirement objectives, such as desired retirement age, lifestyle, and activities to guide your planning process. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not sure if my wife wrote down still living in his parents' basement when she was looking for her ideal partner, but somehow she still ended up with me, and for that, I'm grateful.
Yeah, they're very good. So when people come in to see you, is that the first thing you ask? What is your retirement? What does it want to look? What does it look like to you? What are your thoughts about this
Yeah, I
before you
think
do any numbers, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get to numbers right away. I think people always want to get to the numbers right away, and I want to understand who the person is first because that's really going to help me define whether or not we can or can't help them. And then also try to help give them a clear picture on what their goals actually should be. Not that I'm trying to tell them what they should do, but we want to help them clearly define them. So, for me, it's always, tell me what is the biggest financial concern that you have? Is there something that is keeping you up at night? Let's address that first. Let's make sure that we talk about that number one so that, we can make sure that that is addressed before the end of today, or at least we have a plan on how to address it.
Right.
And
The
then,
second, go ahead, Ben.
oh yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, the second one is good conflict resolution skills. My wife's got great conflict resolution skills. She tells me to shut up.
Does it work?
Yeah,
Does she know
all
you
the
work in
time.
radio? Is that an option? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But seriously, let's talk about what's the green flag there, Ben?
Yeah, listen, you handle disagreements maturely. You focus on finding solutions rather than assigning blame. I heard a great comedian over the weekend who had a great bit that actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I can't say on air because it'll just get me in trouble. So moving on.
Good for you. Smart.
Yeah, as a retirement planning parallel, you need to adjust strategies when you need to. I mean, that's part of the point of discourse, part of the point of argument is to figure out not just how do I prove myself right, but am I actually wrong and what do I need to do to make things better? Flexibility and problem solving are essential when financial plans encounter obstacles. Adjusting your retirement strategy in response to life changes or financial setbacks keeps you on course. As an action item, regularly review your retirement plan and be willing to make adjustments in response to new information or changes in your situation. Listen, we meet with our clients twice a year, not because we want to meet with them twice a year. Is it financially smart for our firm to meet with all of our clients 2 times a year? No. No, that respectfully takes up capacity. What's our number one goal? Well, it's to take care of our clients. That's the whole idea. We're not trying to play a numbers game here. The whole idea is to make sure that we're doing the best that we can by the clients that have put their faith and trust in us. And in order for us to do that, we need to give them opportunities to talk to us about what is changing in their life and help them adjust.
Talking about finding the perfect mate. Here's another one. Emotional intelligence. What's the green flag on that, Ben?
Listen, I like these. These are very interesting. So they understand and they manage their emotions well and are empathetic toward others' feelings. And the retirement planning parallel is emotional discipline in investing. How many people do you know have friends that put all their money into Bitcoin or all their money into Tesla or all their money into something else? Or, 16 years ago had all their money in Enron. Or, I mean, there are a lot of areas where we could really get hurt from this lack of emotional discipline. So, strategy insight, we want to have emotional intelligence that helps prevent impulsive financial decisions based on market fluctuations or fear. Staying calm and rational leads to better long term investment strategies. The action tip for me, the action item here is that this is a scenario where I wouldn't recommend doing your own negotiating. I remember reading this book by Herb Cohen. It was like how to negotiate, and he would, do all these different kinds of deals in the 80s, and he's one of the world's best negotiators. And he would always say, look, I don't even negotiate for myself anymore. I get too emotionally invested. When you are managing your own portfolio, the same thing can happen. People can make a lot of mistakes when they're planning for themselves versus planning for somebody else. They instinctively or intuitively know what the right decision is for somebody else, but it's hard to do that for yourself.
Yeah. And a lot of times when you see market volatility, I'm sure you get calls and things are, not going so well and you talk them off the ledge, so to speak, Ben.
I mean, listen, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. There's a lot of things that are happening. We've had drop in interest rates. We have potential war, broadening war in the Middle East. There's a lot of things that are happening right now that are causes for concern that could really have a big impact, not just on the stock market, but on the day-to-day lives of the average person. And so, yes, that is going to impact you, and you're going to feel a certain way about that from a, heart fluctuation standpoint.
Yeah.
But that's why
Not,
it's important to have somebody that is helping you navigate these waters so you don't have to do them yourself.
yeah, not to mention an election coming up in less than a month. So got that going on
No
too.
big deal.
Let's, yeah, no big deal. Let's talk about good communication skills. How does that relate?
Listen, you need to be able to communicate clearly, listen actively, and engage in meaningful conversations. Again, retirement planning parallel here is your regular financial check ins. I would think that if I'm on the other side of the table with me or any one of my advisors, I would want to have open and clear communication. I want to be able to regularly review my financial situation. I would like to be able to discuss my goals and stay informed about my investments to ensure that my retirement plan remains aligned with my objectives. That's what I would want if I'm the person talking to a financial advisor. So this is important. We need to schedule periodic meetings with your financial advisor to have those open discussions about your retirement goals and any concerns that you have. We need to make sure that, again, we are communicating well, we are open. Listen, I had a client that I've had for a couple of years who's missed a couple of reviews. Not a big deal. I'm not a teacher. I'm not here to give you a hard time. But he ended up getting laid off because he couldn't work anymore. His back hurt him. So he's on unemployment. And by the time he scheduled an appointment with us, he was already more than halfway through his unemployment. Well, had we known and had we had those communication skills, we could have gotten him on Social Security disability or at least started the process so that by the time unemployment runs out, he'd be able to be collecting those Social Security checks and really not be so reliant on the money that he has saved earlier than he expected to. Because we didn't have those good communication skills, now he's in a different, I would say, different position than he would otherwise have to be. So again, it's not just communication from your financial advisor, but also with your financial advisor to make sure that you stay in a good spot.
So anything major changes in your life, they should basically get in touch with you, right, Ben?
Yeah, worst case scenario, we say, hey, don't worry about it, nothing we can do, or nothing we can do, or maybe there's a little tiny thing that we can do that can significantly improve your situation, right? Maybe just a little bit of advice of, hey, we've been there before, we've had other clients that have been through the same thing. Here's what we recommend you do. And that's why we have these reviews. That's why all the advisors meet together every single week for hours to go through all the cases that we've had previously in the previous week to make sure that we're not missing anything. If you add up the designations, I feel like it was 7 different unique designations that our advisors have. So when we get together to talk about all these different scenarios, there's not a lot that we haven't seen.
Right. Let's hit one more before we go to break. Positive attitude. What
Yeah,
about that?
green flag, right? Maintain optimism and approach life with a can-do spirit, even in challenging times. I don't want to have a partner that's always going to look on the downside of everything. The retirement planning parallel is staying motivated despite market volatility. Listen, every time the market drops by 2%, I get text messages from my friends that say, Ben, should I stop investing in my 401k? And every single time I say, no, put more in. What are we doing? We've played this game before. And look back 3 years ago when this happened, and look back 5 years before that when it happened. We know the market's going to go down. We know it's going to go up and down. We just need to have a plan for when and how we're going to be investing. Maybe that would change if you were a year out from retirement. Right? That's a different ball game, possibly, maybe not. But ultimately, we need to have a plan. Listen, we're here to help you figure out when to take Social Security, how to create a paycheck from your investments in retirement, how to minimize your taxes, how to handle your estate planning. That's what we do. That's what we call the How to Retire Blueprint. We want to go through with you and show you scenario-based planning. Let's look at a screen together. Let's understand the impact of our decisions, and let's quantify that. Let's see what actually happens with actual numbers when you make some of these different decisions. And then from there, we can make an informed decision to put you in the best position for retirement.
All right. So we're about to cover IRAs on the show. Everyone is talking about IRAs, individual retirement accounts. Maybe have one, maybe you want one, or maybe you're just confused by them. Don't worry. We know you have some questions. That's why the conversation right now is to clear up some of the stuff about investment vehicles that you get your money right with IRAs. It's easy to do the wrong things. So we're going to talk about what not to do with these accounts. Here are 5 fatal mistakes that you should not make with your IRAs. All right, the first one, not investing rollover funds promptly. What do we mean by that?
Yeah, when rolling over funds from a 401k or another retirement plan into an IRA, many people fail to invest the funds promptly. They leave the money sitting in cash or cash equivalents, missing out on potential market gains. And this is a problem because you have some significant lost growth opportunities. Cash earns minimal interest, especially compared to potential returns from stocks or bonds. And then inflation aversion. Inflation can reduce the purchasing power of uninvested cash over time. Solution. After rolling over funds, promptly allocate them into a diversified investment portfolio that aligns with your risk tolerance and retirement goals. Now, I think we have to take a step back. When we're talking about a rollover from an IRA, from a 401k into an IRA, why would we do that to begin with? Great question, Gary. Thank you so much for asking.
I was about to ask. Yeah, thanks.
I'm with you. So first of all, when you have money at a 401k, you basically have the employer's options on what you can invest. Most of the time, it's S&P 500, small cap, mid cap, large cap, maybe an international fund or two, a money market, and then target retirement date funds. So usually like 15 to 25 options, something like that. In an IRA, you have, there are over 20,000 mutual funds and ETFs and things that you can invest in, that you have way more opportunity to diversify your money, to put them into different types of investments than just stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And so when we move money from a 401k to an IRA, typically it's with people who are getting closer to retirement, that aren't all in on growth mode or aren't all in on stocks and bonds, that are looking to get a better rate of return than just what the money market can give them. And so the goal for us is to put you in a better position. And one of the ways that we do that is by managing your money inside of an IRA where we have more options to invest. That make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Okay, how about this one? This is a big one. This could get you really in trouble, Ben. Ignoring RMDs, required minimum distributions. Not good.
Yeah, look, failing to take required minimum distributions from traditional IRAs starting at age 73, as of 2023, from the Secure Act 2.0, it's a problem because there are hefty penalties. The IRS imposes a 25% penalty on the amount that should have been withdrawn but wasn't. And if you think that's bad, it used to be double that. It used to be 50% before they changed it last year. The tax implications. RMDs, required minimum distributions, are taxed as ordinary income, and missing them can lead to unexpected tax burdens. We need to mark your calendar for RMD deadlines and work with a financial advisor or tax professional to calculate the correct amount. Also, this is key. When you have money in a 401k and you have to take required distributions, it has to come evenly out of all of the investments that are there. You could have a money market fund, you could have stock funds, you could have all that stuff. You can't really choose which bucket to take it out of. You have to take it evenly out of all of them. If you have an IRA or if you have 5 IRAs, you have to satisfy the required distribution. You can satisfy that distribution from one IRA. You don't have to take it out of all 5, and you don't have to take it evenly from all of the investments. You can choose exactly which investment you want to sell to pull from. That's really important. You need to have more control over your money, especially when you're withdrawing from it.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So you can spread them out, take them from any IRA account, Ben?
Yeah, so if you have, 5 IRAs and you should have to take 10,000 from each of them, you can actually take 50,000 from just one IRA to satisfy all of them. But you can't do that with a 401k or 403b because that is the employer's plan, and the employer has different rules than you do. So you have different rules that have to be followed.
So if a 401k or 403b, you'd have to take them out individual from each one, the exact amount,
Yeah,
pretty
and
much?
this is frustrating for a lot of my clients because, a lot of people like to keep things in different areas. They feel like they're more diversified that way. You're not, but that's okay. We can have a different conversation. But, you could satisfy all the income that you need coming from the IRA. You could satisfy the required distribution, the amount that you have to take. It could have been already satisfied by what you're already taking to live off of from the IRAs. But if you have a 401k, you still have to pull from that because it's looked on
Gotcha.
separately, which is
Mm-hmm.
another reason why we like to consolidate those things before people reach age 73 so that we can have more control over your
Mm-hmm.
taxes.
All right. How about the next one? Not understanding the difference between traditional and Roth IRAs.
Yeah, choosing the wrong type of IRA for your financial situation and retirement goals. Now, it's a problem for tax inefficiency. You may end up paying way more in taxes over time if you don't select the most beneficial account type. Your retirement income strategy may not align with your expected tax bracket in retirement. So, understanding where you should be contributing new money to now, whether in the traditional IRA or 401k or the Roth IRA or 401k, that's critical. And then also, where do you withdraw from when you're retired? A lot of people want to withdraw from the Roth IRA first. To me, that's one of the biggest mistakes people can make. You want to leave that money alone for a longer period of time. Why? Call me. I'll tell you. But the short version is that if that money can grow and double every 7 to 10 years, right? 14 years have gone by, it's doubled. 21 years have gone by, it doubled again, right? So I went from 200,000 to 400,000 to now 800,000. I only paid taxes on that first 100,000,
Right.
right? That other 700,000 is all tax free. If I had taken that first, I wouldn't have gotten that 700,000 growth. That growth would have been in the traditional IRA, and I'd be taking taxes on all of it. So again, we want that growth to be that long-term growth to really be heavy in that Roth IRA.
All right. We got a couple of minutes left. How about managing Roth conversions? Let's talk about that a little bit, Ben.
Oof, yeah, this is a problem. So, one, converting a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA without fully understanding the tax consequences. This is a problem. You have unexpected tax bills. This happens to clients all the time. The amount converted is taxable as ordinary income in the year of the conversion. And for the Medicare and Social Security impact, higher income may affect Medicare premiums and the taxation of Social Security benefits. What does that mean? Great question, Gary. Thanks for asking.
Go ahead, Ben.
That means that you might be in a situation where you wouldn't have had to pay taxes on Social Security, and now you do because you put too much money, you converted too much money to a Roth IRA. You may be in a situation where you have to pay $4, 6, 8, $9,000 more in Medicare premiums per year than you did previously, or than you would have because you did too high of a Roth conversion. Listen, it's okay to have that. It's okay to pay those taxes. I just don't want anybody to be surprised by it. It's not a problem of paying taxes or choosing when to do it. It's of understanding the implications and the consequences of what you're doing and not being surprised by that movement.
Have a lot of clients not understand that when you talk to them, Ben, realize that you have to pay the taxes up front? How does that happen a lot or occasionally?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've met with a lot of people that were former do-it-yourselfers and that have heard the show and have, seen our webinars and, sometimes saw us in person. But they end up working with us because they've made some mistakes and it's cost them a lot of money. The mistakes that you can make by doing it yourself cost a lot more than the than having a financial advisor like us manage your money. The whole idea is for us to save you money and to improve your overall net worth by doing things the right way. But yes, I've seen people just pick a bucket. I've seen people try to max out a certain bracket, a 22 or 24% bracket, and then they don't understand all the things that are
Mm.
taxed in the way that everything is taxed. So they end up doing way too much and going way over that bracket. But listen, there are a lot of mistakes that can be easily fixed.
Yeah, one thing I always talk about, it's not a do-it-yourself situation. There's too many moving parts, puzzle pieces, however you want to, talk about it. But yeah, you don't want to do this yourself. You don't want to go alone. You need someone like Ben on your side. All right, how about the last one? Engaging in prohibited transactions. That sounds bad.
Yeah,
That
that
sounds
sounds
really bad.
sounds fun. Yeah. So the mistake is using IRA funds for personal benefit or investing in prohibited assets like collectibles or life insurance. Why is this a problem? So it could disqualify the IRA. The IRS may consider the entire IRA distributed, leading to taxes and penalties on the full amount. Additional penalties may apply for early distribution and underpayment of taxes. There are certain things that you can use your IRA to invest in, and certain things that you cannot. Wouldn't it be terrible if all of a sudden you were taxed on all of the money that was inside of your IRA all at once? The reason that when we do Roth conversions and why we have to be so careful with them is because we don't want to put ourselves into a higher tax bracket. We don't want to act as if the money has been distributed. We want to make sure that we are careful with your money, as careful with your money as if it was ours. And I can tell you what I don't want to do: pay a whole bunch of penalties for no reason. So when we meet together, the goal is to figure out the best way to handle these things. Look, there's a lot of confusing stuff in retirement. Roth conversions, IRA distributions, allocations, how to survive a recession, all that stuff is just difficult. And there's really no way around it. And if there was, I wouldn't have a job. And I'm sorry that it's not simple, but it is complicated. But that's why there are people like us, and that's why we have a team of advisors that are here to help put your money in the best position that we can for retirement. So whether you need to figure out when you should take Social Security, or how we can minimize taxes, or if you should be doing, charitable distributions or anything else that comes up, we've pretty much seen it all. The best thing that we can do is have you give us a call, schedule a phone call, schedule an appointment, come in, talk to one of us, and see if we can put you in a better position for retirement.
We'll talk about music on the show. Talk about the hit song "Money." Money. It's a gas. Grab the cash with both hands. Make a stash. All right. So we're going to talk about the song. Really is about the allure and the dangers of wealth for retirees. Managing money is one of the most crucial aspects of financial planning security. In fact, the average retiree needs 1.3 million to live comfortably in retirement. That's why I'm still working, Ben. This is,
They don't know about the cash in your basement, Gary.
I don't know about that. Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Sorry.
This is according to Fidelity, by the way. So it's time to make the cash last as long as possible. So we have a bunch of follow-up questions. So I'll read these questions, Ben. We go over these together. All right. So what are some common financial mistakes retirees make when transitioning from a working income to retirement savings, as referenced in Money Magazine? What do you think?
So overspending in the early years of retirement, underestimating healthcare costs, and failing to adjust to investment strategies are common mistakes. Retirees need to budget carefully and plan for long-term expenses. With that said, listen, when is the average retiree going to be the healthiest? As soon as they retire, right? Unfortunately, no, time marches on. We get older. Listen, I can't play basketball with the guys in their 20s anymore. I don't want to guard anybody that can even sniff dunking on me. I have no joy in that whatsoever. But I know that I'm healthier now than I will be 10 years from now. That's pretty much how it works. So for me, as your financial planner, as your financial advisor, for our team of financial advisors, we want to empower our clients to be able to do the things they want to do as soon as they retire and not wait and not put it off, but just to understand how they can do that without actually hurting their long-term future.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me, I was on a senior softball team not too many years ago, and someone took a video, and I think I'm running really fast, and I look down, I'm sprinting to first base. Guess what? I'm not moving that fast.
One of my friends runs the local basketball league at the JCC Jewish Community Center basketball
Yeah.
league, and he'll like to take videos when he thinks somebody's making a great play. He'll send it out to everybody. And honestly, Gary, I did not realize, just like you, I did not realize how slow I was moving until I had to see it, and then I wished I had never seen it because the vision of my mind was so much better than it was on the screen.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Wow, I thought it was flying down to first base. I'm going for a double. Too bad I'm out of breath when I make the turn at first base, and I'll stay on first. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Crazy. All right. So how can retirees ensure they don't run out of money, as Money warns about the dangers of mismanagement, Ben?
Yeah, so ultimately you need to adopt a sustainable withdrawal strategy. Retirees can balance spending with the need to preserve wealth. It's also crucial to revisit and adjust your budget regularly based on inflation and market performance. Look, when we're creating a retirement plan for somebody, We very simply break things down into three distinct buckets. It's always going to be how much do we need to have generating income for you and maintaining your principal? How much do we need to have in a safety net bucket? And then what do we need for long-term growth that we don't need to rely on in the short term? So for us, when we want to make sure that we're not running out of money, we just need to know that we have each of those mechanisms in place. The growth is for long-term inflation. We know there's going to be inflation. We've talked about it ad nauseum here on the show. You're welcome, and we'll continue to. But we know we need to plan for it. And the safety net is for crashes, right? We know the market's going to go down. Is it going to go down by 10%? Is it going to go down by 40%? We don't know. At some point it will, but we just can't tell when. So we need to make sure that we are prepared for that. And then everything else is in that day-to-day maintenance. We need to maintain our money. I don't like the idea of this 4% rule. I don't like any of those rules of thumb. They always drive me crazy. But I can tell you that we do have a plan that works and that a lot of our clients have relied on successfully and comfortably. And we want to be able to sleep at night. We want our clients to be able to sleep at night. And when you're managing somebody's retirement, that's very hard if you don't have a plan.
I was just going to mention that 4% rule. Should you ever get your blood pressure pumping up? You go,
Don't do it, Gary. Listen, my wife might get mad at you if you bring that up. I'm going to give her your number. We'll see what happens.
yeah, right. Well, we know from the previous segment we both have the perfect spouse. That's for sure.
Right. I recall.
Absolutely. When it comes to your money, all right. So how does inflation, here it is, man. How does inflation impact purchasing power and what can be done to protect against it? Let's spend 9 minutes talking about inflation.
So have you heard about inflation? Has that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Can we talk about the price of eggs or
Sure, yeah.
half gallon of milk? It can look. The bottom line is that it is a source of frustration for me. The reason that we talk about so much is because people need to make some changes. For so long, people were reliant on banks to make their money. I think the majority of people that I see that are in their mid to late 70s, early 80s, they saw banks as the way that they should invest their money. Because back when they were starting to make money, banks were paying out 10, 12, 13% CDs because they were giving away 18% mortgages. So the banks made their money by charging these crazy mortgages based on the interest rates, because there was a lot of inflation at that time also. And they were generating a very consistent, solid rate of return for their investors. Well, that changed. And the reality is that CDs are not the best place to have your money long term. Not for me, not by our reasoning. We can look back at 2022. We can look back at 2023 when Social Security raised its payout rate by 5.9%, 8.7%, and CDs were paying like 2, 3, maybe 4%. They were not keeping pace with inflation. And so the frustration is that we need to find different sources or different ways to generate growth than just leaving our money in the bank and hoping that the bank will pay us more. It won't. But we can find some opportunities, some investments that can still grow with inflation and still protect your money from the downside. So there are opportunities out there. There are other styles of investment. You just have to be open to listening to them.
And, it doesn't mean when you hear these numbers, inflation's at 2.5%, that just means prices aren't going up as fast as they used to, Ben.
Right.
And it's also compounded on the 9% we had a couple of years ago. Am I right?
Oh yeah, I mean, we can look at, there are a lot of different studies where cost of goods are up over 20%, over 40% from where they were 4 or 5 years ago. Those studies are out all the time, depending on the different goods that we have. And yes, when they say inflation is down to only 2.5%, that means prices only rose another 2.5% on top of what they previously did. That's a great point, Carrie. I'm totally with you. And so people are like, oh, that means prices are coming down. Nope, still going up. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And I read just recently that a U.S. senator and a representative are taking on some big companies when it comes to shrinkflation. And they're talking about how the cereal boxes have shrunk and the prices have gone up. So we'll see if anything comes out of that. But yeah, I did read that recently. So
Oh man,
pretty
there's
crazy.
there's tons of things. I mean, I read recently about them trying to combat Social Security and make sure that teachers that teachers that wouldn't normally have gotten Social Security or their spouse's Social Security are now looking to get it. But again, these are ideas that are being floated out there, and until they become law, they're just ideas, which is tough.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's get to the next one. What strategies can retirees falling into the greed trap heightened in money? What is the greed trap? What does that mean?
Listen, diversification and regular financial check-ins can prevent retirees from chasing risky, high-return investments. Focusing on steady, reliable income streams can help maintain financial stability. You know what it seems like to me? I remember growing up, I would see these infomercials on TV, and you would see this guy with his book, and behind him was a yacht that, well, I'm sure was his. Buy this book so you can get a yacht like me, or
Nice. Yeah,
get
let's do
instant.
it.
And I see people online, they're trading cryptocurrency. Hey, thanks. We'll call him Jim. Thanks, Jim. Because of your cryptocurrency, I could buy this $800,000 house in cash. Listen, I think the whole idea is to inspire greed and to get you to do some things that you probably wouldn't have normally done because you're trying to get that extra money. And when it doesn't work, oh well, sorry. You know who made a lot of money? The person that was selling you the book, the person that
Right.
was trading the money. That's
Yeah.
always the issue. The key to wealth is slow and consistent grind and hard work and consistency. And that's how you build wealth. That's how you get to $1 million. That's how you get to $2 million. That's how you get to $4 million. You consistently grind and work hard, and you don't go for the next big thing, because a lot of
Mhm.
times it's, how many people do you know that have actually gotten rich quick?
No, 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 no. I know for sure. All right, final one. Let's squeeze in one more. So, this is it. This is the big question right here. So, how can retirees balance living comfortably in retirement without depleting their savings too quickly, Ben?
Yeah, so retirees can balance living comfortably in retirement without depleting their savings by simply having the right plan. When we talk about the three different buckets that we manage money in, we want to make sure that your monthly paycheck is not reducing your principal. We want to give you that money. And by the way, our expectation is to net our clients right around 8%. Sometimes it's 7.5%, sometimes it's 8.5%. But really, we want to consistently generate that around 8% of income a year, so that they can live comfortably off of that without having to touch anything else, which, by the way, also allows their other assets to grow untouched, which means that they're going to beat inflation over time, which means they're going to be able to do the things that they want to do, and they're not going to have to worry about running out. Listen, we are offering what we call a how to retire blueprint. So, what is that? That is your blueprint on how we can help you retire, on the way to invest your money, on the way to choose Social Security, on the way to minimize your taxes, if that's Roth conversions, if that's charitable giving, if it doesn't involve any of that. But it's what can we do to put you in the best position for retirement.
All right, Q&A time, favorite part of the show. Let's get the questions that our listeners sent in. Robert in Rocky Hill. I'm asking a question for my parents' behalf. My father is approaching his full retirement age. I recently learned that his entire portfolio, 2.5 million, is tied up in a single stock, which happens to be the same company he's worked for since the late 90s. Now, in a bull market, his retirement flew above 3 million, and he didn't think it was good enough. He didn't need to protect any of his money. However, it's taken a significant hit in the bear market, which really comes at an inconvenient time. Any suggestions on how to handle this situation, Ben?
Well, Robert, I'm going to answer this without trying to be flippant here, but we need to change some things up. The problem is, in scenarios like this, I don't know how much of the money is pre-tax in his 401k or in an IRA, and I don't know how much is after tax that if we sold it, he would have some major tax implications. So part of the goal for us would be, before he begins taking Social Security, is we need to figure out the most tax efficient way to do this. There are a lot of scenarios where we have taken clients and we have sold some of their stock before they've taken Social Security, because they can avoid paying any capital gains taxes on that when their income is below certain thresholds. When your income is below, I think it's around $90,000 of just capital gain income as a married couple filing jointly, you don't actually have to pay any tax on that gains. And then on top of that, you still have your standard deductions. Now, if this is too tax heavy and boring, I can just show you on a screen when you come in. We can do that. That's a big part of what we do, is we go through your tax scenario together to see, if we delay taking Social Security, if we don't have any other income, and we have this amount of gain after taxes, how much are we actually paying on that? Now, if he sold it now, he would probably have a much bigger gain before he's retired. So, for us, we want to try to figure out that game. And if you think about retirement as a puzzle, it's almost like, you want to think about it almost more like Legos. I don't know if anybody's worked with their kids or their grandkids on Legos, but when you put Legos together, you have to put the pieces not just in the right place, but also in the right order. Otherwise, you're going to have to take apart half of that Lego to find the missing piece that you didn't put in.
I know.
Try to get that smallest piece up with your nail, to try to somehow get it up, or you find a knife and then the thing pops all over the house anyway.
Yeah, what a mess. Yep.
But if you think about retirement, like putting Legos together with the kids, right? We want to make sure that we're doing the right things in the right order. Because if we don't do them in the right order, we're going to have to deconstruct it later and start all over again. We don't want to do that. And we don't want to put anybody in a bad position for retirement. But again, anytime we meet with anybody, anytime any one of my awesome advisors meet with anybody, it's what can we do to put you in a better position for retirement? So that's what we'd look to do.
You find out a lot of clients have stock in the companies they work for and don't want to get away from it because they feel attached to it emotionally, even, Ben?
So about 3, 4 years ago, there was all this, I would say, research on cognitive biases, right? Biases that people had where they felt like they had more control over their company's stock, even though, no disrespect to the people at Raytheon or Electric Boat, but you really don't have a tremendous amount of control over the government contracts and where they get issued. Right now, things are great until they're not. And so it's a very specific bias that people have where they feel like because they work for the company, they understand that company better and it's okay for them to take more risk. Now, they may have more insight than the average person, but most of them don't have insider insight. That's a completely different ballgame. And then they would be restricted from when they could sell the stock. So unless you're actually restricted on when you can sell your own company stock, you likely don't have access to what people would consider to be insider information. And so, yes, I do find that happens quite a bit, and it is something that we try to combat comfortably.
All right, let's move on to Beatrice Bloomfield. Over the years, I've amassed a few traditional 401ks from 3 previous employers and 401 accounts, and I'm in my mid-50s trying to figure out if I can consolidate these easily. What's the best way of going about this? Any advice?
Yeah, Beatrice, very specific question. I appreciate that. So you can very comfortably, very easily consolidate those 401ks. The only scenario where I'd recommend you not doing that is if one of those 401ks had a money market account or had a stable value account that was paying more than you could get from a CD locally. So if you had a stable value account that was paying 6% and we could only get 4.5% from the nearest CD, I'd probably want to hold on to that specific 401k. But barring that, and it is very, very rare that that actually happens, you're likely going to be better off by consolidating all of those 401ks into one IRA, thereby allowing you to manage them much easier, have a little bit more control over all those options. And if you want to work with a financial advisor, they'll be able to put you in the right buckets for retirement.
So if you're still working, should you still contribute to your 401k that you're working with, company you're working with, Ben?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, yes, almost in all cases, we want people to contribute to their current 401k rather than give us the money to manage it. And you would think, well, isn't that counterintuitive? Ben, don't you make money by managing other people's money? The answer is yes, but it's still in our client's best interest to put it into their own 401k because the limits are higher. So either they're getting a tax deduction and they can deduct up to $30,500, or they could put up to $30,500 into the Roth 401k. You don't have those options in traditional or Roth IRAs outside of the plan. 1, 2, we also want our clients to get their match, right? If you're getting a 3, 4, 6% match, you want to be able to continue to get that inside of the 401k. You don't get that when you just contribute new money to the IRA. But what we'll do is after 1 or 2 years, every so often, we'll just roll that money from the 401k into an IRA to make sure it's being managed correctly.
All right, Adam in Andover. I'm planning to retire this year. I'm 65 right now. Now, aside from inflation, what should I be concerned about retiring? I'm worried about a recession is coming, and maybe it's already here. What specifically can I do to best position myself as I head into retirement? So, a very nervous Adam going into retirement, Ben.
All right, Adam. So there are a couple things. 1, we need to know 3 basic things before you retire. What do you have? What do you have in your 401ks, your 403b, your 457, your IRA, your Roth? What do you have? How much is it earning? Based on the way that you've been investing, how much is that presently earning? And then how much are you spending? For us, the how much are you earning is the tough part, because just because you may have gotten 15% last year doesn't mean you can expect to get that every year or even expect to get that again. Typically, when you got that high of a return, it means you were taking on a lot more risk than you may have been appropriate for retirement. So, in terms of what you should be concerned about, 65, we got to get Medicare. We got to make sure that your health insurance is intact. When you leave, even if you don't already have it, it's a qualifying event, so you can get on Medicare at that point. But we need to make sure that you know where your paycheck is coming from. Listen, if I'm retiring tomorrow, the biggest concern that I have as a human being is, where am I getting my monthly paycheck? I saved my whole life. Great. Now what? How do I live off of it? And how do I do it in a right way that's not going to mess me up? How do I do it in a way that I'm not going to pay too much taxes, that I can leave something behind to the next generation? How do I navigate those waters? And to me, if I'm in your scenario, Adam, that's the thing that I want to have answered. But that's why we have a How to Retire Blueprint, so that we can help people like you navigate those waters carefully.
All right, final question, Ben. Margie in Middlefield. I love this question. I'm retiring in 12 days. Other than sleep, which I'm looking forward to, any suggestions of what I should do on my first day? Well, Margie, Ben and I will happily go to lunch with you if that you want to do that. We'd be happy to do that.
Which, by the way, is tough, people, because Gary is presently in, I don't know, one of those Carolinas, one of those states,
Yeah,
or whatever,
exactly.
right? He's just hanging out by the beach. But Margie, if I am you, I am spending the next 12 days furiously writing down my bucket list. What are the things that I've wanted to do that I have not done? How do I get there? How much is it going to cost? Let me prioritize. Maybe I don't do them all my first year retirement, but maybe I can do things a year or two apart so that my portfolio can build up the money each year to do those things. This is a fun question because, honestly, I don't know who you are, but I want you to be happy. And so, whatever it takes to make you happy, that's the goal. Gary, anything else that you should want to add to that one?
No, I think that, I mean, she really needs to make sure she's planned for her retirement and she's ready to go, and have that plan, Ben, that you talk about, because it's really important. You got to know where your money's coming from. That's the first question, is where your income coming from in retirement, Ben. Am I right?
Yeah, 100%. And the one thing that I will add, now that I'm thinking about it, now that I have a second to process the question, is I would like for you to not just get sleep, but also have a plan for what you're going to be doing throughout retirement. We have seen a lot of people that have been very used to structure for the last 30 or 40 years, 50 years in some cases, and then all of a sudden they don't have that structure, and their mind and their body just deteriorates. We don't want that to happen to you or anybody. So I would say, on top of writing out your bucket list, on top of having things, always having something to look forward to and planned on the calendar, which is a thing for me that I enjoy, I would recommend finding something that you want to do and being able to do that in a structured way, so that, again, it's a joy for you, but also you have something that you're getting up for. I think that's incredibly important. But listen,
Great advice, Ben.
that's not what we cover typically on the How to Retire Blueprint. The How to Retire Blueprint is helping you figure out how you can retire with peace of mind, how we can make sure that you're doing the right things in retirement. And it's not just about, am I going to run out of money? I think the majority of my clients really aren't that worried about running out of money. They're more worried about making sure that they're doing the right thing, that they're not making any missteps, that they're not going to pay too much in taxes, that they're making wise decisions. And for us, I don't want to make the decision for you, or any of my advisors to make the decision for you. What we want to do is show you what will happen based on the decisions that you want to make. That way we can help you look forward and see what will likely happen if you do the right or wrong thing, to keep you from making those mistakes. We do that by something that we call scenario-based planning, where we put on a screen, we have lots of different software so we can walk through different scenarios for you to make sure that you're doing things and putting things in the right place. But listen, we can't do any of that. We can't help you with any of that unless you pick up the phone and give us a call.
Yeah, great advice, Ben. The How to Retire Blueprint, your chance to benefit from it. Call right now. We still have a limited number of availabilities on our calendar this week. Slots do go quickly during the show. Claim your spot now. And remember, the consultation is offered at no cost or no obligation. Here's the phone number, 800-380-8985, 800-380-8985, the How to Retire Blueprint. That's a wrap for today. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Hope you found the information we presented helpful. Look forward to all of you being back next week. We'll have new topics and new questions right here on How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. Ben, a pleasure as always. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you next week, my friend.
Sounds good, Gary. You too. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to schedule a 15-minute phone call, go ahead and click the link in the description below, and we look forward to talking to you soon.